live. So let us begin. A new album. Welcome. Welcome, Satan. Ave. Is that the correct, is it Ave? It's welcome, correct, in Latin?
Audrey.
Audrey. Audrey Satanas.
Pronounced Audrey, spelled Audrey.
Yeah, we're good. It's going to be one of those, isn't it?
Yeah, probably two of those.
All right. So
yes, it's called Ave, which is Latin for it's a Latin. It's a hail, like salute, like Ave, hail, you know.
all right. So Ave Satan. We are welcoming Satan on this new album, correct? So
Of course.
right off the bat, I mean, like, okay, let's just dive into the history, and as people sort of jump on, we'll come into the present, and we'll really get in depth about the new album, the songs, and the theme, right? Let's start at the beginning, and I'll start off with Jeff. Jeff, the Venom legacy, and there's always been that, from the first album to I guess all the albums, the theme of Satan. I mean, whose idea was it to hey guys, let's go down the path of using the dark side? At least for the first 3-4 albums, it was Satan, and then kind of veered off a little bit and came back again. So whose idea was it to go down the satanic road?
It was basically all of us. I mean, we had an interest in the dark side, and I mean, it was the whole shock horror thing. To be brutally honest with you, I mean, we've said this before. We looked at bands like Black Sabbath and Black Widow, people like that, and even earlier than that. And yeah, they sang about the devil, but it wasn't stuffed in people's faces, So we thought, just about a pure shock value of it. Just, we were going to stuff it in people's faces, and if they ran away screaming, then great, If they embraced it, great, But that was the whole premise of the thing. I mean, I've always had an interest in sort of that side of it, I suppose. I'm not religious or anything like that. I never went that far, but I can remember as a kid, my grandfather, I used to stay at his house every now and again, and he would let me stay up late and watch all the old horror movies, Boris Karloff and Lugosi, and all those old things. He was into that, and he used to buy me an American import mag when I was a kid. Every month, he used to get me this mag called Monster Mag. So I was into all the horror theme and all that kind of stuff, and I had. At that point, there was a company called Aurora, a model company, and they used to make all the old horror movie models, and I had all those fucking things as well, all the glow-in-the-dark things within my bedroom. So when we sort of came together, particularly myself and Abaddon, when we came together, we sort of had this thing where it was going to be dark, it was going to be heavy and everything like that, and then, obviously Kronos coming into the band, and, hence the name changes. We thought, if we're going to have this dark image, we don't want to just go by our regular names. So we went through, various things, looking at the different names and chose the names. And then, Abaddon came in with the original Venom logo one day, and suggested the pentagram as well, so which hadn't really been used up until that point, and now it's, it's prevalent. It's as common as seeing any other symbol, I suppose. But that's how it all came about, It was just, 3 young guys who wanted to just shock the world, I suppose, and that's the way it went. I mean, I suppose if somebody did it these days, it wouldn't have any effect, but 30 odd years ago, it was something that hadn't been seen. But having said that, I've always said that, there's Black Sabbath, there's Black Widow, and there's probably people before them, whatever. But you go all the way back to the Delta, and there's some blues guy sitting on a porch with a fucking beating up all the acoustics singing about the devil. So it wasn't that anything new, let's put it that way. It was just something that was taken that step further, I suppose, when we did it. But you have to remember as well that, we always had a sense of humor, and, hence songs like Teacher's Pet, Poison, and stuff like that. We had songs about serial killers, schizo, and, so it was all about the darker side of life, I suppose. And the satanic imagery just came to the forefront, and that was the way it happened, really. It was,
and I remember back then, I mean, using it's a lot different than today, right, Tony? And I want you to weigh in. I mean, I know that it was early on that you knew the band, right? You used to be a fan of Venom when they first start off in their first second. When were you introduced? Were you friends with the band? At what point did you start, or hanging out with them, or, as friends, or you got to know the band?
I think probably the first time when I heard, probably Dancing Queen was really left an impression on me. And I just like the blonde one. I mean, he had a nice mustache, and the brunette was pretty cool too. And then there was the drummer, and then there was the other guy, Bjorn. I don't know what he did, but just the four of them really impressed me. No, the thing is, I think that we were kind of from you go across the world, you meet all these bands, and you think, and the fans, and you think it's like a huge environment, but it's like any industry, it's actually smaller. It's a more close, tight-knit thing than you think. I mean, we've just done a whole bunch of festivals and we see the same people all over the place. And then you start to realize the world's quite shrunk. And we come from an area in the northeast of England, which is quite exclusive to itself. The city in itself is like the most isolated city out of anywhere in England. England's not so big, but Newcastle's like, away from every other city. So its influence is specific to itself. And I think, we where we all lived was very close to each other. So you kind of was seeing each other all the time. I mean, Jeff's partner, his life partner, I mean, she, when they were together, she lived across the road from my mum. Her brother used to play guitar and was always back and forward seeing me and my guitarist Steve. And I mean, he brought a first pressing of, I guess it was In League with Satan, to the house, really excited. Oh, listen, my girlfriend's boyfriend and my sister's boyfriend's they made a record. It was like, fucking, that was impressive. I was like, fucking hell, So I see Jeff, walking to the shop with his flares and his long hair and his slid waistcoat on. And he's star and he's a black. Still got them. But it was like, so it was kind of like close environment. And a girlfriend I had, one of her best friends, Jackie, came in. We were at her house one Sunday, and she said, she came downstairs and she went, my boyfriend, they've just done photo session. And I said, a photo session? She went, yeah, because they're making a record. I was like, fucking hell, amazing. And she pulled out all these photocopied images from black and white pictures, and it was the session for the Battle Welcome to Hell. And I was like, oh, fuck, they really did a proper photo session and everything. Yeah. And so neat, you'd go around to Wall's End, and all the characters that became the characters, the Gallicas. I used to get the bus with Mark, and all of those people, the Tigers and everything, Venom inclusive, they were all just available, so it wasn't, it was kind of like all friends and stuff. You were very aware that everybody was in bands. I mean, I went to the Mem to see Venom were on at the Mem, because you would go to the Met or the Mem, And I remember standing in the hall, and there was no stage, just on the floor with but people were just doing it for themselves, and there was that kind of post-punk spirit, of like, fuck it, we want to be in a band, we just go out and do that, and there was something quite special about it, and I just always admired people who were doing it, and not just fucking talking about it, not just pretending they were doing it, but actually doing it. And Venom were actually doing it, and I thought, fuck, yeah. And, I loved what I was doing, I guess, would probably be, like, Venom would be seen as being extreme against what was happening, because I was never into, like, the new wave of British heavy metal per se, I liked something different, like the Ravens or the Venoms. It was like, it wasn't quite the standard stuff. And so I was kind of doing that kind of thing, much like lots of other younger guys. So the fact that Venom broke through, again, like I've said in interviews before, it meant that the possibilities were great. Before Venom, in the metal thing, there was no independent records, or, you got all these heavy metal labels and London Records, and Metal Blade came and Megaforce and all of that. But all of that, before that, there was nothing. It was either corporate labels or fuck all. And Neat and Venom broke at the same time. Neat was kind of fumbling around trying to release things, but then Venom happened, much to their surprise, but also much to the label's surprise, and all of a sudden everybody wanted to be on Neat, you know. Metallica sent demos to try and get on Neat, and everybody was heading towards Neat because they thought, oh shit, they know something we don't know. But Dave Owens didn't know, he didn't even know what he knew. So it was like, fuck, it was so exciting. And I guess, you know, that was it. I mean, I liked the guys who they were. You know, they were all characters and very individual, but they were funny and they were warm, and there was something really positive there. And then the music, you know, I just loved from the minute I heard I put on listened to Sons of Satan. You know, the thing just exploded in my face, which is exactly what I was into. You know, that kind of explosiveness, and so I just adored it. You know,
Tony, something just dawned on me. Do you know that 2 years ago today, the exact date, you guys were playing Heavy Montreal, and I actually did an interview with you guys. I had no idea.
Yes.
It was actually 2 years today.
2 years.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? It was actually, I just saw that. I go, wow, it's exactly August the 7th, August the 7th, 2 years ago, I actually was interviewing you guys. And again, I'm not trying to cut you off.
That in itself is pretty mad. I mean, it just shows you, in a way, Jim, is the kind of trip we've been on. Because if you said, remember we first met in Heavy Montreal, in my mind that was like last summer. It wasn't 2 years ago. It's pretty mad, that, isn't it?
Organically, and you know, the whole Venom Inc. thing is an organic sort of process that happened, right? You're playing a festival right before. Then you play. I think it was one festival right before when you took the banner as Venom Inc. Right, and then you played Heavy Montreal. Then everything just exploded. At least from what I remember.
Yeah, I mean, even the shirts that we had done for Keep It True with the Venom Inc. thing. I mean, we labored over the title of the because they said, well, you got to have a band. You should sell something to, you know, commemorate it. And it was like, what the fuck? So it was like, you know, take a bit of this. Jeff took the image he made with the iron and steel and the British kind of image, and we put Keep It True, Keep It Real on the back, you know, and used the Abaddon's logo to give people that connecting tissue to it. So it was just done. It wasn't like we prepared a load of merch and prepared a whole load of it. We just did it for that one thing, and that was like sell the shirts, walk away, everybody's happy.
That's right.
What a great time we had, and it just it really just goes sideways on us, and it caught us by surprise. And so we just thought, well, fuck it, you know, sometimes you get on the horse and get thrown off, and sometimes you stay on, and we thought, well, let's just get on the horse then. At least we're doing it together, the three of us.
Exactly.
Wherever it goes, you know.
Question to Jeff. Jeff, Gordon, let's go back in time again. And you can't see what I'm holding up right now, but it's At War with Satan. I'm holding up the album At War with Satan. You can't see it. I'm holding it up.
I can see it. It's a cucumber. It's not. Oh. Hang on, that's not a cucumber. Is that?
So, Jeff, as I read in Wikipedia, it was inspired. I guess you guys like a 2112 from Rush. Was it? Is that true? Is that truth or myth? I mean, was this inspired?
Yeah, I was a huge Rush fan. I love Rush, and Conrad was a huge Rush fan as well. So I mean, it was mainly Conrad's body of work that War with Satan thing. And I mean, I contributed to it, but you know, it's no secret. You know, I've come out and said this before, and it's just a personal opinion. I know I'll get berated for this, and I've spoken to fans about this before, but War with Satan and Possessed, you know, they're off the radar as far as I'm concerned on the Venom side. You know, I was never a big fan of those two albums. I think they're good albums. Don't get me wrong, and we play a couple of tracks off them, but you know, I don't think they're great albums. It's but again, that's just my personal opinion. I mean, I've met people who have said that War with Satan is their favorite Venom album, and that's fine, you know. And you know, I mean, I've even met a guy in Seattle, and he was standing backstage waiting for us coming out, and he only had one Venom album with him. And he told me he had the whole collection, he had everything we'd ever done, but this was his favorite Venom album of all time, and that was The Wastelands. Yeah. So we signed The Wastelands for him, you know. But yeah, I mean,
the Tony Dolan era.
Thing. Yeah. And I mean, there's tons of people. I mean, you know, everybody, you know, there's people trying to write these albums out of history, but it's not going to happen because they were there. But there's a lot of people who discovered Venom through Primeval, through Temples of Ice, through the Mistland, and then went back and listened to the other stuff, you know.
And Jeff, not to cut you off, but so you had Welcome to Hell, you had Black Metal, at War with Satan, Possessed, and where did everything start going wrong? You guys were like on this high, right? I remember for the first time I saw Venom probably around the Black Metal at War with Satan. You did this sort of like live. It was sort of like a stage live video, and I could tell you I was maybe 16 years old, and I go, I can't believe what I'm watching. It was incredible. You don't know what to think. You don't know what to make of it. It was extreme metal for the first time. At what point you had the momentum? At what point did things start going a little bit sour?
For me?
For Venom in general, because you left the band, right?
Yeah. Well, for me, it was after Black Metal. You know, I've got to be brutally honest. It was after Black Metal. I mean, what you've got to remember is that the speed of the success of Venom, it wasn't gradual. It was overnight. It was fucking zero to hero in fucking a matter of a week. I mean, I still maintain the fact that, you know, we went down to Neat Records and literally bugged the guy to, you know, release a single. And I'm still convinced to this day that David Wood released however many he did of In League with Satan. Maybe pressed up 1,000 and thought, there you go, it's going to flop. Oh, fuck off. It didn't. You know, I think for us it was just right place, right time. You know, the stars aligned, everybody was ready for something different, and we came along. And then, like I say, the speed of the success of Venom was, I mean, there was one weekend we were rehearsing in this rundown old church hall in the west end of Newcastle, a really rough area. The following weekend, we were in Belgium in front of, I don't know, 3,000 people in a sports hall. And I remember one of the Belgian road crew, walking across the stage singing Sons of Satan. And I actually looked and thought, how the fuck does he know that? You know, nobody had a clue what was going on. Even the record company, they didn't know how much it had exploded. Nobody knew. And I think that contributed to the change in personalities as well. You know, me, you know, what you see is what you get. This is me. You know, what you see on stage is definitely not Jeff. You know, I'm lucky in that respect that I can go on stage and I can play that part, and it's a release. But ask anybody who knows me closely. You know, like Tony. You know, it's like I come off stage and I'm instantly quiet again. That's it. You know, where's my cup of tea? Where's my cigarette? Take me to the hotel type of thing. You know, it's not that I'm a prima donna or anything like that. It's just I find all of the outside of it, you know, quite difficult. And you know, when the success of Venom hit really big, you know, the personality change in certain members was unbelievable. You know, and that's what I couldn't deal with.
Yeah. But before we get to that, we'll slowly move up to that. Now we're going into the first 4 albums. Tony,
yeah.
When you play live from the first 4 albums, I guess up to Calm Before the Storm, right?
Yeah.
What songs do you motivate you? I guess what songs do you love to play? And same question to Mantas as well. What songs do you love playing live from the first 4? And we'll get to the Tony Dolan era, you know, in the Venom world right after. But which songs do you love playing live from the first 4 albums?
Well, for me, of course, Dancing Queen is a classic. So I have
it
to
is.
go back to
It's the next cover.
What influenced me? No.
Was that on Welcome to Hell or was it on Black Metal?
That was on Welcome to the Green Room, yes, Welcome to Hell. It was the working title. No, Super Trooper was another good one, classic. For me, I think that, there was an impact. You know, what I always loved the way the album opened, because I loved the aggression of punk. That was what I really, really liked. You know, when I used to go to shows, and I kind of liked my metal that way. So your Motorhead that was great. It was just pummeling, and I spent a whole the Ace of Spades. I remember the Ace of Spades tour and Overkill. You know, I spent the whole show with my head in the bass bins, you know, I couldn't hear for fucking months afterwards but it was just like the raw power, the raw energy. And when you put on Welcome to Hell, there's, you know, you've got all the atmosphere of In League with Satan, the single, of course. I loved Live Like an Angel. It was fast and really impulsive. But, you know, when you put Welcome to Hell on, whatever is in the grooves, the opening salvo of Sons of Satan was like, there's no preamble, there's no nice little interlude, there's no intro that's going to just gene you up a bit. It's like someone knocks on your front door, you open it, and a brick comes and goes bang, and it's the door again. It's like,
or a cucumber,
yeah, or a cucumber, yeah. And that's what it did to me. It was like, what the fuck? And from that point on, I loved it. So when we play live, of course, you know, it's great to play the old songs, because, especially the way we do it, because, you know, people said that, you know, oh, they're a cover band and stuff. It's like, okay, well, you know, we've got to deal with horse shit, you know, if you're going to cross a field. But the point is that what we do is they feel like they're the first time we played the songs to that audience, and the relevance and the power and the energy of the songs feels real for the first time. So each audience hopefully gets it like it's the first time they actually heard it. And that, you know, that's the inspirational thing. So all of the songs that we play from the early period feel like they're part of us, even though they may have had a different voice on it at the time. It's about the music and the vibe for the music, not just how it plays out, but how we deliver it. Yeah. And so they're all great to play, but I think Sons of Satan is always just, I don't know, for me it speaks of everything that it infused me. You know? 1 second.
Sure, no problem. So Jeff,
carry on.
Jeff, here's my question to you. So now we're at Primeval, right? Tony Dolan has come into the band. Don't worry about it.
That was Conrad. Oh, he says, it isn't that one, it's another one. So I changed it. It isn't Sons of Satan, it was something else he says. Okay, carry on.
Jeff, what did you see in Tony? What did you see in Tony to bring him into Venom at the time? What did you see in him? Well, what does Tony have that Conrad doesn't have? Or what does he bring to the band that you love?
What does he bring to the band? Yeah, that. Okay, see that? Oh, that's good.
Loves it, can't get enough. I have to give a box full.
What does Tony Dolan, the Demolition Man, bring to the band that maybe Conrad doesn't?
That's a leading question, Jimmy.
It is a leading question.
Well,
I mean, Tony's been my best friend and my brother for fucking, Christ knows how long. You know, we know each other better than we know ourselves, really. But bringing to the band, I mean, fucking hell. You know, just watch the guy live. You know, it's like, he's a fucking great bass player, very underrated bass player. He's a fucking great vocalist, and I'll say this right now, that his vocal performance on Ave is the best that he's ever done, ever. I mean, he had some strong vocal performances on the album. Yeah. No, but I'm just speaking the truth. It's not. If he wasn't here, I'd be saying the same thing. It's like, we had some great vocal performances on the Empire stuff, you know, and then when we re-recorded some of the Primeval Temporals era, you know, it was stunning, you know. But, you know, he brings, with him being a fan of the band as well, you know, it was like, you know, he brings that passion, that aggression, fucking every single night. There's never a lackluster performance. There's never a performance of him just like going through the motions and picking up the paycheck at the end of it. It's never like that with him, you know. He puts fucking 150% into everything.
I agree with that.
To bring him in for the Primeval thing, I mean, the story really is that, you know, Tony was asked by Abaddon and Eric Cook, who's now sadly passed away, bless him, but he was asked to come in, you know, as vocalist for the band. And at that point, I'd already received a call and said, no, I wasn't interested in this thing, you know. And then they told me, you know, like, Tony was on board. Now, I didn't know Tony was on board. He didn't know I was going to be on board because I'd said no 2 or 3 times. I even had a meeting with Abaddon face-to-face and said no. But once it was confirmed that Tony was in, it was like, yeah, let's do it, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a great period. It was only it was only shelved because of, you know, some of the gigs we were doing, and you know, it was like a few other things and whatnot.
It was the 90s too, right? It was metal was less in the forefront.
It was. I mean, it was a difficult period for metal, but Primeval actually, you know, it got a lot of great reviews. I remember speaking to one guy, I'll not name him, but one guy that I know for a long time, a journalist. And we went out to London to do some press. And this guy, like I say, journalist, but a long-time Venom fan as well. And he said to me that if he had put that album on and it wasn't what he expected, he was going to fucking destroy us in the press. He admitted that to me in a pub in London. But he said, what we produced, he says, with a fucking Tony Dolan, he says, fucking hell, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. There's no, you know, on Primeval, Temples and whatnot, yeah, I'm not that keen on the production, but there's no going through the motions with him. You know, it's not just like a case of, you know, I've got the job, I'm in a safe zone. And he didn't come into Phil Kronos's boots either.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case. It was just a case of come into the band as your own entity and do what you do. And we did one show which was reviewed. I can't remember which magazine, but I can always remember this. The reviews, it was a great live review. It was from Bonn at the Biscuit Hall when we were on tour and we got a call to go and do this festival. I think the main support had dropped out or something, I'm not quite sure. But King Diamond was headlining, but they wanted on us just before King Diamond, so we said, yeah. So we went in, we did it, we tore the place in New York, so it was live on radio, sounded great, we went off like a fucking rocket, and, you know, it's, you know, I can't remember the bands that were on front of us, it said, but, you know, if these guys fucking, you know, set the level to 10, then Venom came on and fucking tore the roof off. And at one point in that interview, it said, also, the absence of Kronos growing less and less noticeable.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, and that was true. You know, people were starting to accept. You know, it's always going to be. I'm a fucking. You know, I've said this in every fucking interview. My metal world begins with the word Judas and ends with the word priest. You know, when Tim Owen came into that band as vocalist, it was like, okay. You know, great vocalist, but still wasn't wrong, you know. But then, you know, you start thinking, fucking great. So there's always going to be the people who are going to miss the original. I miss Ace and Peter out of Kiss. Well, it's never going to fucking happen again, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think we haven't got a replacement here. We've got somebody who's been with the band for fucking years and years. And
the new guy.
Yeah. I mean, this new guy has had a lifelong association with this band.
That's right.
It's as simple as that. You know, so I mean, he knew the Venom sound as well. You know, it was like, and you know, I'm going to say here right now, live on air, a lot of that material was written by this guy. You know, the Primeval stuff. Me and him collaborated on a lot of stuff, but a lot of the stuff was also just written by Tony.
Yeah.
You know, and he did his fucking research as well. You know, it was not that he needed to, but, you know, he said to me, you know, he would listen to the old Venom stuff all the fucking time. And I think, skipping forwards a little bit, you know, that's the way Ave has come together, because we've been on the road for so long, in excess of 250 shows or something now. We've toured our asses off.
Yeah.
And being on stage every single night, playing those old, what everybody calls classics, you know, it's put us back into that fucking groove again. And, you know, you've got the results with a new album as well.
Yeah.
So
before we get into the new album, all right, I know Tony's already in on this. He's already like messaging everyone.
Yes.
He's already getting into it. So there's
someone just wrote to my private inbox, and they went, he's not asking the questions.
Well, let's get into the question. There's just, look, we have a lot of time. We got at least 5 hours to go here. Let's go to the question by the fans that are typing. So just so you know, Jeff, people are typing as we speak, and they're sending us questions. But I don't want to cut any of you guys off, because you guys are, you know, you're really digging deep into the history, and people want to hear that as well, right? So let's just go quickly into these questions that people are typing. And so everybody knows that this show will be rerun, and the majority of the people watch it on the rerun because there's time zone differences, right? But we have people watching live right now. So just to go quickly through the questions, and either you or Jeff can address them. It's all good. I'm trying to like switch between back and forth between you guys, so you both get a chance to talk. Ronald,
That's cool.
will we see songs from the Dolan Venom era live besides the old classics and the new ones? So that would be to you, Tony. Will we see any Dolan era songs live from Ronald?
Yes, like Jeff just said, yes. I mean, I think the intention at the beginning was to, take a journey through the great legacy, which is Venom, and unlike so many bands, love them or hate them, but unfortunately, unlike so many bands, they may have a song or two or several that you recognize. Some of the greater known bands, some of the greater bands have catalogs that you recognize. And Venom falls into that latter catalog, It's like, every time we go out, we ask people what they would like to hear, and they have a bunch of songs they would like to hear in the set. The difficulty is they don't want any songs taken out of the set. So if you the whole thing about playing festivals and doing all that and going, playing your festival, what 45 minutes, unless you're closing a major festival, you get limited time, your setup time, your pull-off time, it's like you're pushed and pulled, and we want to maximize the enjoyment, and it's very difficult in a limited set of time to be able to do that. So we've particularly myself and Jeff figured out a way that we can be on stage set up, we set our own shit up, we can be on stage set up to go in minutes, and so it maximizes our time. We can also strip down in minutes. So basically we run on set up, go, and play as much as we can, and then we max. If we've got 45 minutes, we don't, and they'll give us a 15-minute changeover. We kind of nick the 15-minute changeover to go. We got 2.5 minutes to set up, 2.5 minutes to take down, and we can get an extra couple of songs in. So I mean that's the difficult. But people also leveled a bit of criticism because somebody would say, you've been doing 18 months of playing live and you're still playing the same fucking set. It's like, well, yeah. It takes longer than 18 months to get around the fucking planet. If we were just playing Barnsley and fucking Grimsby, then okay, yeah, we're labouring the point. But, when you're going around the globe, someone in Chile hasn't heard the fucking song.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a good point. For forever, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it takes a while to progress the set. So I think it was important to begin at the very beginning so that people realized that it wasn't a cash cow. It wasn't just walking on going, hey, we're here to, oh, look, there's Mantas. Oh, there's Abaddon. Look, you're getting to hear these classic songs. It wasn't about that. It was about being a band, being real, being all of that incredible, amazing energy with those amazing songs. From the singles to the albums, I mean, every song feels like it's a classic and everybody sings along to them, and It was about encompassing them all and making the journey through. Unfortunately, we only got as far as, black metal, back end of black metal, and we managed to push Rip Ride in, so we're into it, War with Satan, and we'll progress through that, plus adding the new stuff. But we've, like with the tour that's coming up, we looked at songs that maybe could be in from B-side to singles, A-side to singles that people haven't heard yet, other tracks that hadn't been played live, so, and then the new album, it was a whole fistful of motherfucking shit coming off the new album. That's going to be people. So, it's going to be exciting, but definitely all the periods, we see as being all part of the same thing. And who the three of us are.
Yeah. So Mantas, to you, and again, let's try to keep these. And again, I'm not trying to cut anybody off. There's a lot of questions I just want to get to. So make sure the fans get there.
I will have. If you could just say, I will have dinner with you, T.
Okay. Well, you just did. So for Mantas, GP365Y, do you feel that Ave is a sequel to The Wastelands or Resurrection, or is this truly a first album? Where does the album fit in the Venom legacy and discography? So, is this basically a continuation?
From some of the reviews I've read, all the reviews have been great. Far exceeded my expectations. But a lot of them are saying, they're hearing tinges of, the old classics and this and that. Well, what I didn't do was I didn't go back and look at the songs that we had and say, I need a song like this, and I need a song like that, and I need a song like that. I remember questioning myself a lot over the writing period of Ave. And I had a Skype call with Tony one day, and he said, look, he says, just be who you are, do what you do, and play what you play. It's as simple as that. You just got to look back at Welcome to Hell and black metal. That's what you did. Just do it. So, that's what I did, continued, but I don't know. I don't know if I don't look at it as a progression from Resurrection. I think Resurrection, I love Resurrection as an album, but I don't see it as a continuation of that. Probably more a continuation of Tony's era, but even then, I don't know. I've never really had that question. I think Ave, honestly, for me personally, Ave is its own beast. It's not a first album. It's not a follow-up album. It's just, I don't know. It's us. It's just us. It's what we do. It's the way we play. It's a very good question, and it's something that I've never really thought of. But a lot of Welcome to Hell black metal, I've said this a million times, but 80-90% of it, it's all my music, all my riffs, and it's the same on this album. It's just what I do, and it was written specifically for this band, and that was it. I don't think it would fit anything else that I do. It was written for us, with Abaddon's drums in mind, with Tony's bass and vocals in mind, everything. So I think I wouldn't say it's a standalone album, but it's definitely its own beast. But I think it fits perfectly into the Venom legacy.
Yeah.
If I've got to be really controversial, right? If I'm going to be really, really mega controversial, and everybody can write in and tell me to shut the fuck up on this point, I think it stands more in the Venom legacy than Possessed. For me, that's me saying it personally, right? Just me as a member of the inner circle of the band. I think it fits the legacy more than that. I think it fits the legacy a bit more than Cast in Stone as well. I mean, John Parry loves Cast in Stone, our webmaster. That's one of his favourite albums, so he'll be the first one to kick my ass on that one. But I don't know. I think dare I say this, it's modernised the sound a little bit.
That's a key word. Modernized, I think, is the key word.
I think it's still on the production side of it. I mean,
And Jeff, you produced this album, correct?
Yes, I did.
It's on par with the top producers like Andy Schneep and the rest of them of today's metal, today's metal producers. You're right on par with these guys. This is I'll give you my review. How's that? So
okay.
I'm not in the band, right? Even though we're friends, I could look at this objectively. And I think there's a key words that you said there. It's a modern album. And I think that was something that was lacking in all the Venom albums, or most of them at least, right? Not all of them, but let's say the first, let's say 6. This album, the sound is incredible. The production is top notch. This sounds like you hired like one of the best producers in metal to come up with this album. So hats off to you. That's a nice 10 out of 10 right there. It does, brilliant. And another word you said, and I know Tony said this, it's the legacy. It does have the legacy of Venom. We'll call it the spirit of Venom. How about that?
Yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
It's the spirit of Venom, and again, a lot of people seem to forget. You guys are Venom, even though you're called Venom Inc. Right? I mean, there's more Venom, and Tony he's in Venom. You can't say ex-Venom. He's Venom, right? Yeah. Even though you guys call yourselves Venom Inc., you are Venom. So it is also, absolutely. And I think Tony said this, or you said this, and it is a continuation of where you left off, but more in a modern sound. This is probably, I would put it, and if I look at your catalog, I don't think there's a better album. The only album I would say that is probably maybe better is Welcome to Hell, because it was that first one, right? It was just something new, something fresh. I would put this up either on par with Welcome to Hell or just slightly below it. It's a perfect album. It's brutal. It's got thrash. The lyrics are haunting. You're covering a vast array of subjects, or at least in the sort of evil kind of way. So Tony, let's talk about the lyrics. Tell me about the theme of it all. Okay, it's obvious. I mean, there's a lot of Satan there, right? But who is Satan? Who is Satan? Is he a mythical figure? Is he a real figure? Is he a guy with horns, or is he a guy with the suit? Is he a guy with a lady with a skirt? Who is Satan?
Well, Satan was in ABBA and helped write Dancing Queen, obviously.
I like that song.
No, I think the thing, I think that could be a kind of misconception with the idea of the satanic that's in the album. The cover itself, it's more of a posit. There's Lucifer clearly walking towards you in a very passive way on a desolate landscape with a foreboding sky. To one side, you can see Adam and Eve eating the fruit from the tree of knowledge.
Perfect. I love that. Yes. Who came up with that cover? Who designed it?
Well, it was from an idea. It was a Serbian artist who did the painting, but I had all the idea. But way before, it was the connective thing was the empire stuff, because we had this theme with empire, with this pope who wasn't a pope, was in, this Catholic garb and with the Bibles tearing the pages and the sheep, representing man. So we already had a kind of theme, but it wasn't about, down below, it's dangerous, and it wasn't a cabaret version of the whole thing. It was more to do with what we talk about. It's the endemic, poison that is humans, that inner turmoil, that inner thing that is us, what drives one. We look for a cure for cancer while we're chopping people's heads off. We build a sky tower, the most amazing, beautiful bridges while we're leveling Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So it's that, like, well, hang on, how come we're capable of so many amazing things and at the same time so many dark things? So it's about looking for that inner self. And the cover could be, is it Armageddon or is it the beginning? There's David's temple's there. There's the two sheep representing man. One's got his eye hole torn open because inside's the wolf. And he's, look at this huge monolithic figure, powerful as fuck, who not only can fly, but he is Lucifer, so he could do some damage if he needs to, and yet he's quite passively walking towards you. Is he signaling the end, or is he signaling the beginning? And you're supposed to answer that question. The point is that, he was an angel sent, banished. What his duty was to feed man knowledge and look after him, to be their shepherd. That was his duty. Because he questioned the God, he was cast down to walk for eternity on earth. I think that's pretty cool if you've got someone who looks like that and has that capacity, who's down to look after you. I think that's pretty good. But he's a light bringer. He's a bringer of knowledge. And so that's what he's doing on the cover. He's bringing you the light. He's bringing you, look, this is where you are. There's no gates of hell. There's no fire coming up with demons pulling people down. There's no napalm going off and nuclear bombs going off. It's quite passively quiet. Is that how it will end? Just implode like that? Very simple.
I have to say, Tony, it's a stunning cover. It's probably one of the. It should be the cover of the year, if you ask me.
You're complimenting. I agree fully. By the way, with your comment about Jeff's production, I think I think it's incredible.
And Jeff, going through the songs, all right, and we'll go through them quickly. And just your thoughts, ideas, what it was like, the challenges. Ave Satanas, the first song. What were the beautiful spacing. I love the spacing between all the instruments, the hypnotic sound. Everybody knows this was a single already released. What were your challenges? Was it easy to record the song, or it's got a very Rammsteinistic sort of sound. I know you don't want to hear that, but it does, right? It just does. It's sort of a brutal, hypnotic. Tell me about the challenges of recording that song.
To be brutally honest, there weren't really any challenges. When I start writing songs, I'll always I always put up a tempo first and just jam along. It's as simple as that. You can ask any songwriter where, ideas can hit you at any point. And I remember some of the lyrics from Ave Satanas. Me and my girlfriend were out having lunch one day in the local town, and I just pulled my phone out, and she went, "Who's that?" I went, "Oh, nobody," and I started writing lyrics, and those lyrics went into Ave Satanas, and that set the sort of pattern for that song. Riff-wise, I don't know. I don't know where it comes from. It's just what I do. I mean, there was a lot of riffs for that song which I discarded, because if you look at the actual project page, it's miles long, So it was like coming up with sections, and then we're in the digital age, so you can record something, move it along, say, does it work with that? So I spent a lot of time on the arrangement of songs. Because I wouldn't use any riff that I didn't feel was powerful enough, or like boom, just hit you straight away. So I spent a lot of time on the arrangement of every single song. I mean, when I came back from, I don't know what tour it was, Brazil, America, Europe, whatever, but I loaded from my mobile phone 84 videos
Jesus.
of me just sitting there with riffs. And that was on the bus, it was backstage, it was in hotel rooms. So, I'm constantly like, I've got this thing where, if I'm walking, let's put it this way, it sounds a bit mad, right? But I'm sure this will happen to other songwriters. If I'm walking down the street, I'll be humming something. So it's not anything. I'm not singing a known song.
It's like you've unlocked. It's sort of when you're a songwriter, you kind of unlock something, and just it all comes out, right? It just leaks out.
It's like that, yeah. And I'm the kind of person who's got to then commit that to, just to record it. If you open my hard drive, there's fucking thousands of things on there, because I'm not one of these guitar players who sits down for 8 hours a day and practices scales. It's like all power to those people who do, and there's some amazing technicians out there, incredible, all that kind of stuff. But I've always said I've got no desire, none whatsoever, to be one of these virtuoso guitarists who knows every scale and mode on the planet, knows all the theory, all that kind of stuff.
You're playing. I found you were playing as a guitarist to the song, to the mood of the song, to whatever the vibe of the song was, right? And that's what you're doing. You're playing to the song. You're just not, Yngwie Malmsteen, you just pull out a solo, whatever the mood is, right? You're just playing to the song.
You've just hit the nail on the head. That's the most important thing for any musician. It's the song which dictates what should happen. It's not your ego. You shouldn't be so ego-driven as to think, just because of the genre or because of the formula dictates verse, bridge, chorus, middle eight, solo, chorus out. If it doesn't need a solo in there, I go with Gary Moore. Gary Moore is my all-time favorite guitar player, right? And I read an interview with him, years and years ago. And he once said, the guitar solo in a song should be part of the song. It shouldn't just be there as some added texture.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be there for the lead guitarist to have a wank for 30 seconds, It's like, and I always construct my solos. It's like when I hear a Gary Moore song, or even Priest, it's like, it doesn't matter how long I haven't heard a Priest song for or a Gary Moore song for. Every time it comes to the guitar solo, I can still sing that guitar solo. And that's what I try to do. Whether I achieve it or not, I don't know. But that's what I try to do. But having said that, there's been a few concerts where we've played Buried Alive, and the audience have sang the guitar solo. And it's like, whoa, that's a compliment. That's great. But, again, I've always said, if somebody said to me, you can be the greatest guitarist the world has ever seen, nobody will fucking touch you. You are the man.
Yes,
or you can be the greatest songwriter. I would choose the songwriter every single time, because it's songs which hit people's emotions. They move you physically, emotionally. They'll take you back to a period of time.
Yes, exactly.
But everything, And I've had so many people come up, the first time I heard blah, blah song, this song, that song. I put a call out, I'm writing this book, and it's fucking way overdue now because of the amount of time we've been fucking touring. But I got asked to do a book, and I was going, no. And then I agreed to do it, and I started writing. There's a hell of a lot of stuff written now, but it's nowhere near finished. But I put a call out to the fans, and that call is still there to the fans. You know, if anybody's listening to this now and they've got me on Facebook or they can find me on Facebook, you can inbox me, right? I put this call out and I said there's going to be a chapter in the book called Legions, Iron and Steel, and it's all about the fans, but it's written by the fans. It's not written by me. There'll be a little preamble, me saying thank you, whatever, but it's all their stories, totally unedited. Spelling mistakes, a whole lot is just going to go in as they tell me, right? Good or bad, I don't really care. Okay, I want your opinions, how you found the band, how you discovered it, what the band means to you.
Yeah.
Mate, some of the stories I've had back are incredible. You know, ranging, you know, from people who have met their wives through Venom, you know, their lifelong partners, to, you know, one guy, I'm not going to name, you can read his story when the book comes out, but, you know, he met his best friend of now under fire in the military, in a firefight.
Crazy.
You know,
Yeah.
Unbelievable stories, you know, it's incredible.
And Jeff, like, just quickly, when are you expecting to get this book out?
Oh, God, I don't know just when time allows, you know. It's like I said, there's a lot of
And
stuff.
what's the overall theme of this book? Like
the overall theme, I mean, I got asked to do the book, and then it was actually in Japan that I agreed to do it. We were sitting around having dinner one night, and Tony, I remember, it was Glenn who was pushing, yeah, do the book. So I went back and started writing. So what I'm doing with the book is I'm taking it really from the day I popped out into this world to what we're doing now. So it's going to be right away through the whole fucking thing. Everything that I've ever done, everything Venom's ever done.
So it's like fans, biography, autobiography. It's just pretty much everything right?
Yeah,
timeline.
Just everything. And I mean, myself and my other really good friend, you know, I've got two good friends on this planet, and that's Tony and another guy called Gordon, who was Abaddon's drum roadie right away through the early days. He used to take a little Instamatic camera everywhere he went, and boom, 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 he was firing off shots. And I went down to his house one day, and he just pulled out this box of undeveloped rolls of film. So we went and we bought a digital converter, and we converted a lot of those photographs now. So there'll be a lot of photographs which has never been seen before. You know, everybody's seen the usual on-stage
shot.
Sure.
So is there definitely, like, would you say in a year's time it'll be released, or this?
I would. Oh God, I would love to think I could get the book out next year. I've got a publisher who's interested, so you know, I can't even contact them and say, right, you know, it's going to be out here, because, you know, I've never written anything like this before. You know, writing an album and producing and mixing and all that kind of stuff is pressure. But
sure.
It's something that I'm used to. But writing a book, fucking hell, and going
in Japanese as well, right? You got to write in Japanese. No.
But you know, it's checking out times and dates and all this kind of stuff, getting everything right. And I'll tell you what, there's going to be a thing at the back of this book, which is going to basically be, I want it to be a fold-out thing, where it's going to cross-collateralize every event which has happened right away through to now, because there's some weird shit that's happened. Really weird shit. I'm a big believer in the sort of, you know, like I say, I'm not religious, but I'm a big believer in the law of attraction and fate and destiny.
Buddy, I mean, Jeff, just me having an interview today, the same day 2 years ago, I did an interview, which I had no idea. I was going
to say that now. Since Venom Inc. has started, there has been some events which has happened to personal members of the band, right? Which happened way back in the fucking 80s.
Wow.
It's so fucking strange. Some of the things which have happened, like losing family members and all that kind of stuff, there's some really fucking strange things. Now, people can put that down to coincidence. I look at them as opportunity. It depends which path you take.
Sure. And you know, guys, okay, I know a lot of people want to know about the I don't want to cut anybody off, and I apologize if I cut anybody off. Just trying to sort of steer the ship a little bit, right? So let's go more into, and I'd love to hear more about the book, by the way. Forged in Hell, Tony. This is a track no one has ever heard. If you had to describe, and I've heard Forged in Hell, it sounds like it's an upbeat car driving metal song, right? How would you, a classic, and even a classic with the spirit of Venom song, how would you describe the song to the people who haven't heard it?
I think for Forged in Hell, for me, it's like a Mantas song. I mean, that's how I would describe it. You know, there's certain songs that obviously they're, it was important for Jeff to realize, from my point of view, for him to realize that when he did question him, is it the right direction? I mean, is it stuff? And I said, it's just as simple as you don't have to be anybody else. There is nothing to prove. The man has nothing to prove. He doesn't have to try and be himself. He doesn't have to try and be anybody else. He doesn't have to copy anybody else. And I'm not saying that, with reference to Rage, or anybody. People can take it how they want, but they're wrong. I'm saying that with reference to him as himself. He didn't have to be anybody else. And so whatever came out the way he intended it to come out. And that will work for me, unfortunately or fortunately, it will work for me. And when it wouldn't work, then that's where we'd look at that. And if he was unsure, and then, but it very rarely happens with him. It very rarely happens, that there's a question over anything. He might be unsure, but then I hear the assurity, I assure him up. But Forged in Hell is a classic. It's just a classic Jeff track because it's
classic
like,
Venom track. We'll call it a classic Venom track.
Yes, it's like, I don't know. I could pull out a million
I think it could have been.
songs.
I think it could have been off the first album. I mean, production-wise, yes.
I think without a doubt, production-wise, of course, you're going to hear a difference. But I think without a doubt, and I think if you then listen to when we did Primeval, if you listen to Harder Than Ever, okay, but it again was a classic Venom, a classic Jeff Venom track. It was something big because he likes. When he plays these kind of songs, Forged in Hell, and those kind of songs, Metal We Bleed, he puts himself in the position of being in front of a huge audience. How are the audience reacting? So he sees in his head the live thing. Because so when people think like, oh, the energy that's on there, that's because that's the energy he's putting on there. That's the energy that then infuses me to put my energy on there because. We're in front of that Madison Square Garden or that Wacken headlining stage with all the bombs going off and that. So we because we put ourselves in that atmosphere and very much we put ourselves on the record, we leave the imprint on there and that translates to people. When it's too homogenized, when it's too contrite, when it's too controlled, when it's too plagiarized, the actual soul's missing. Yeah, you got the blood, you got a bit of a pulse on there, but there's no soul in there. Those albums that breathe soul are those albums that you love. And so Forged in Hell for me is one of those songs that is like, it's him on stage, 15 feet up in the air with the bombs going off and him wailing into a solo. It would
definitely make a great live track. Definitely.
Exactly. And it's a crowd track,
Yes.
You would have just the audience and the energy level would be mad. So,
yeah. And okay, next track. So, Metal We Bleed, and this is to Mantas.
Could we, Jim, just quickly, could we just run through those questions? Just
sure. You're doing such a great job in answering them. I figured.
I know. They're inboxing me going like, well, nothing's being asked, and I'm trying to answer that. I just go quickly. Adam Schrimmer.
This is the great thing about live chats. We could just sort of talk about everything, right? So
exactly.
We got Leonard. When is the book going to be available?
Anthony Scrimmer wrote fart, so I said burp. I'm not sure what that is. Sean David says hi, dear. Sean David says yes, perfect. T says, TT said, can we have dinner together? I said yes. Sean David's Welcome to Hell is the best. Ave Satanas, blah, blah, blah. There's a couple of questions. Mantas, do Mantas and Demolition feel that Ave is the sequel to Resurrection or The Wastelands, or is truly the first album where...
Well, we answered that question.
Yes, we answered that. Yes, we did. Ronald, is Abaddon being a dad? Will he have any influence on the tour being diapers backstage? I said, we always keep diapers backstage for Abaddon anyway. Hill, Real Venom said, blah, blah. There was another couple I just wanted to squeeze in.
Yes, for sure.
Mark Jackson, remember him?
Him.
It's Dr. Drum here. He said, hi, Mantas Demolition. What's been the greatest moment with Venom Inc. so far? It can be live, writing by signing Nuclear Blast. Anything and why? Jimmy, could you answer that?
You spoke so fast, I didn't hear the question.
Okay, well,
Where is it? Where is it? Who was it?
It was Mark Jackson,
Jackson.
Mr. D, Dr. Drum.
Let me
What
take
do
a
you
look
think,
here.
Jeff? What do you think?
The greatest moment so far. I think, oh God, you know, live performances. Fucking hell, we've had so many great shows now. So many fucking great shows.
I agree. I think it'd be
It's
impossible
hard
to
to
pick
pick.
one.
I think biggest sense of relief delivering the master disc to Nuclear Blast, and they loved it.
Yes, yeah.
I was shitting myself over that one.
Yeah.
And I suppose, yeah, I mean, it's you know, signing to Nuclear Blast, it was overwhelming. I was absolutely gobsmacked. I was reeling for fucking days, you know. Sometimes I'll look at what's happening now and still think, fucking hell, is that us?
Absolutely.
You know, it's like, it's incredible.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I would say,
Yeah.
you know, Nuclear Blast, one of the greatest worldwide metal labels out there. And, you know, they're definitely in the top three.
But you know,
Right?
Jim, I think the thing is that there's lots of great people out there, and there's lots of great work being done by some great labels.
Yes.
And I think where it felt like it was right to be home is because, particularly myself, I mean Tony too, of course, but particularly myself and Jeff are incredibly passionate at every post about what we're doing, and they're passionate too, and that is where we all come together. You know, they're honest. We try and be as honest as we can. They're productive. They believe. When they believe 100%, not just some of it. And it's how we are. So it feels so natural. So as a label, I think they're exceptional, but I think it's because of their passion for the music and their belief in the whole thing as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, in the olden days, the business folk who ran the music companies, they had no idea, right? Today, they're fans. They're fans of the music.
Yes,
the people who run the labels.
Nuclear Blast were began by musicians who wanted to do it for that exact reason. If me and Jeff started a label, that's why we'd be doing it, to correct those things from a musician's point of view. And I think that's what's so different about them. I'll shut up for one sec, but I've just got to answer these ones.
Sure.
Dein Fleisch, who is that about? I said it's about me mum. And then TT says, I have a Demolition Man tattoo and an Empire of Evil tattoo. And if I do a show where Venom's on, do I have to cut my neck and my arm off? Probably.
Yes.
Probably. Yes. Okay, over to you guys.
Over to you. Well, okay, so let's go to the next track, right? And and Tony, I appreciate that you're reading all those text messages. I'm by myself today. Usually Alan's with me. Alan can usually talk, and then I can usually take care of the messages. So it's great that you're chipping in. Thanks for chipping in.
No worries, it's a pleasure. Oh, someone has asked for Jeff, just as a diehard fan, the contribution, if any, was Keith Nichol to developing the classic Venom sound on the first 4 albums. I always noticed his name on my cassettes. That's quite a good one.
Yeah, it is. I mean, yeah, I suppose Keith was instrumental in, you know, putting part of the sound together. But I mean, in those early days, let's face it, I mean, you know, none of us had any studio experience. We just went in there and turned everything up to 10 and hit everything as hard as we possibly could. There was feedback all over the fucking place, you know, and I suppose that's the way it came out. And I do remember Keith Nichol saying at one point that, you know, he had a lot of other bands would come in to do demos and anything, and he would say, okay, then, so how we're going to approach a sound? What do you want to sound like? And they were like, make us sound like Venom. And it was like, I don't know how to. I really don't know how to. Those guys just come in and they do what they do, and that is it. So, you know, but yeah, I mean, yeah, he was instrumental in a lot of it. He never once kept us under control. Let's put it that way. But he was always there, you know. So yeah, he was a part of it. Yeah, but I think it was just us as young, arrogant, ignorant musicians who just went in there and just tore the place to pieces. I mean, when we did Seven Gates of Hell, that was ridiculous. We actually built a drum booth in the studio, and then I set up 8 4x12s, mic'd every single fucking one of them, and had 2 amps running it. I had to go in there with industrial ear defenders on to fucking play. It was so fucking loud. So we did some stupid, crazy things in the studio, you know, totally unnecessary at the end of the day, but, you know, that's what made us who we were. Well, yeah, Keith was a big part of it. Always
Very
would
cool.
be. I would never say he wasn't. Yeah.
So Tony, getting back to Ave,
Yes.
Metal We Bleed. This for me was a thrasher, right? This is the thrasher off the album. Speed metal, thrash, high octane, and I would even put it in the Primeval category. It would, I would again. The production is a lot better than Primeval. However, the sound, the styling, the thrash, in your face. Thoughts about Metal We Bleed?
Well, again, you know, I mean, that was, you know, Jeff's compositioning was like, you know, just twisting and turning and spinning everywhere, but it just had that long driving build up to like the bang and then we're off. And I mean, there was a lot. I mean, we did that in, you know, a lot of similarities, like Hellspawn, which was a very popular track for the Empire stuff. And for me, it had that flavor of that. That's, you know,
very good. Yeah.
And I think those things like Heaven's on Fire, you know, Dead of the Night, things like that. There was those tracks that were kind of composed for me, were like they were just on a knife's edge, you know. They were like balanced so finely, driving right down the blade, and they could fall off either side, you know. But it was like it was on a knife's edge. There's something really critical about it, and that's how the approach was with it. You know, and of course it's a stomping motherfucking like Metal We Bleed is like if you cut us open, we're bleeding metal, and that speaks to all of us, but particularly us, because that's how we felt about doing what we were doing. But also to the fan base again, just, you know, seeing the fans and speaking to the fans. You know, you can't spend 2 years. I mean, we've been back at it for like 11 or something, but non-stop. But the last 2 years into the third year, you cannot be standing on stage saying one thing to an audience and doing another thing in reality. Yeah. You know, you can't be in the press saying, oh, I blah, 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 and then go out there and do the fucking exact opposite. Without people going, hang on, you're talking a lot of shit or you're not real. So what we do is we say it and we live it. We say it and we do it. We say it and we mean it. And that's the whole thing. And Metal We Bleed is like for me, it's like running a flag up, and it's got every person.
It's like a mantra. It's like a mantra of Venom Inc, right?
It's got everybody's name on it. Thank you so much, everybody's name. It's like when we say Metal We Bleed, it's everybody's. You, Jimmy, it's Heavy Montreal, it's, you know, Tim at Brave Words, it's Yap and Nuclear Blast, it's every single fan or fan club people, everybody. It's almost like it's their flag, you know, and when I hear it, when we played it, when I hear it, it's just all consuming, you know, it's all consuming. I feel so proud, I feel so full of everybody, and it gives us that power.
And you know what we failed to talk about? Sorry to cut you off, Jeff, but I'd like you to answer this question, Jeff. And what we did not talk about is Abaddon, right? His drumming on this album. It's probably one of his best drumming albums. I mean, it's incredible. He works the songs, and he does a fantastic drumming on this album. Great patterns. Jeff, do you care to speak about the drumming on this album?
I mean, all the drums were recorded over at Blast Studios in Newcastle, and then all the files were sent over to me. So, I mean, you know, what I did was I sent Abaddon all the demos. I sent him the guitar stems with click tracks, without the click tracks, stuff like that. And then he went in and put the drums down. But I think one thing which has contributed to what you've just said is we've been out there night after night after night playing. He's never played so much in his fucking life. Yeah. It's as simple as that.
That's
a good point. Every night has been, you know, it's been a practice session for everybody. You know, it's you know, we've had to get out there and do it. And he was one of the people that questioned himself about, you know, when we did the first tour, because he hadn't done anything. Me and Tony had been out there in the trenches with Empire, you know. We had these young guys on drums who were just constantly on fire, you know, but Abaddon hadn't been out there doing it. So, you know, we went out there, and like I say, it was night after night. There was no days off on these tours, you know. We were doing 20, 30 dates in a row. There was no days off. It was like, get your shit together and play it, you know. So he was concerned about that. We were concerned about it also. I'll freely admit that, you know, we were concerned about it. But I think that's one thing that's contributed to it, you know. But one thing I was going to say, just I wanted to jump in on the Metal We Bleed thing, was the vocals that you hear on Metal We Bleed are the demo vocals.
Oh.
Oh yeah, we left them.
Oh.
Whoa, here we go. And it's the same for Dein Fleisch. They are the demo vocals. That motherfucker over there, he did such a fucking good job that Metal We Bleed, for me, from the production side of it, became the template of the vocal sound. When I heard what he had done on there, it was like, that's it. And that's why I say the vocal performance is the best he's ever done. But, you know, we did it. We one of the other demos which was sent across to Nuclear Blast was actually Ave Satanas. But it was Tony that came back to me and said, I can do that better. And he did. But I would not let him do anything to Metal We Bleed or Dein Fleisch, because the vocal performance on both of those demos was fucking stunning. I thought we cannot do that again. You know, even if he had said, bin them and let me do them again, I would have hidden them somewhere, let him do them again, and then put the originals back in anyway, you know. But he did a cracking job on those, and like I say, they became the template on the album, vocal-wise.
Fantastic. You know what? You raised a really good point. And sorry to cut you off, Tony. You guys have been playing so many shows. You guys have been growing as musicians, whereas the traditional Venom, we'll call it the Kronos Venom, he plays just a few shows a year, so they don't get their chops as sharp as you guys, right?
I think that's the key. I think you can't hear their live performance and say it's not tight or anything, or polished, and you can't hear the albums and say that they're discordant with each other as a trio, but they rehearse all the time. So of course that will come in and stuff. And, if we all lived in the same place, because I live in London, Jeff is in Portugal, Abaddon, Tony's up in Newcastle. So we don't have the same location. So, like the album approach was the same thing. It's like, how do we do this? Because normally a band will be rehearsing all the time, throwing the ideas around. We didn't have that capacity. But the one thing that all three of us had not realized so much was that we've actually been doing that. We've been on the road more than we haven't been on the road over the last 2 and a bit years. Yep. So we've actually talked about everything we could talk about with the ideas. We've been motivated. We've assimilated everything that's came in, and our performance of course, our performances as individuals, but our performance as a band has been reading each other. And so, without knowing it, we'd actually been more prepared, even though we weren't looking to do an album, than we'd actually considered we'd been. So, of course, there was a lot of pressure, and we had a shorter time span. Maybe we excel better under pressure. It ups the game a bit. But I think the vitality and the spontaneity was there, and the flow just came. And, Jeff has so many riffs coming out. It was like, once the flow started, it's like, it can be easy to go, right, well, hold on. Like, go work on these 3 or 4 or whatever it was. And it's like, okay, but for me, it's like, do I stop the flow to try and put a square peg in a round hole just because I can, because I want to? Or do you just go, no, fucking just keep flowing. Sure. And it was more profitable to just keep flowing, because everything that came seemed even more glorious than the next thing. And, I feel very humbled, and thank you so much for the compliments on the vocal, but without trying to, cock rub each other, I'm just saying that it's the material. When we work together, there's something. The original trio of Venom, without a doubt, people know it was special because look what it spawned. Yes. So there was a kind of chemistry, but the 3 of us have a kind of chemistry. It may be slightly different, but we do have it. And a band that has that kind of chemistry, you can see it, you can feel it. And and so it's real. So whatever that is, we have that, and the room was full with electricity, and the songs allowed the vocal, to do whatever it wanted to do. And generally, Jeff was quite methodical. He'll write lyrical ideas, he'll mill through them, he'll sift them, he'll plow them, he'll pull out, pull in, push stuff around. He keeps his all organized, and I'm just bang, throw it at the wall and see how much is dripping down and what I have to wipe up. It's like, just let it happen.
Just let it happen.
And very much so with Jeff's music, it just sings to me. It's almost like there's words in there that he doesn't know are in there. And when it starts to play, the words go, say this, say this, say this. And I'm like, oh, fucking hell, it's all over the place.
Sure.
But
Tony, again, not to cut you off, but let's just talk about the music itself, and just tell me, what you think about Bloodstained. And Jeff, the song Bloodstained, This is a brutal song. And this time around, for the fans who haven't heard it, actually, the track before that was Dein Fleisch, but everyone's heard that, so we don't really have to talk about it. But Bloodstained is the fifth track, a brutal song, and it goes through a couple of time changes. Tell me your quick thoughts about Bloodstained as we're halfway through the album.
I wanted a really big pounding song. So the music came first. I had that written and arranged as an instrumental. And then again, it was the mobile phone was sitting. I got ideas for some lyrics, so I typed them down, kept a hold of them. When I went back to Bloodstained, I was looking at the phrasing for the lyrics, and because it's all on that China all the time, I thought a word on every single one of those, and then pick it up into the next part. So Bloodstained became a commentary, if you like, on the state of the planet. How we as a human race are fucking it up, how we're fucking each other up. It's like, the chorus, it's like, bloodstained on blackened earth, is this all we've become? A distant memory of all that we have done. And it's, I think it's quite a poignant lyric as well for, in today's society. It's like, as Tony was saying before about, the image of the devil and stuff, is it a guy with horns? Is it a corporate suit and tie? It's right here. It's right here, right now. You can turn on any news channel and see what's happening in the world. You can see it live. You can see the images, and it's far more brutal than any horror movie or any fucking Venom song. So rather than just be another straightforward, like demons and devils and all this kind of stuff, I think Bloodstained is just a big commentary on, like, get your fucking shit together, human race, because you're fucking spinning out of control. One of the lines, our earth falls screaming towards the end of days. And I think, it's what's fucking happening. It's what we're doing to each other. Nobody can agree with each other. And, you like this, I like that. Right, okay, then I'm going to kill you. It's like, fuck off. Come on, man. But supposedly the most intelligent beings on the planet, and I suppose we are with the development of technology and everything, but essentially as well, the weakest race on the fucking planet. I've always said, you put a hungry man and a hungry tiger in the same room, and the man hasn't got any of this technology, I know how I'm betting on to have a good meal that day.
Yeah.
And it's like, when was the last time you had to worry about a marauding fucking herd of giraffes going to break into your house and beat your fucking mother up?
Yeah.
It's like, it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's like there's no respect. There's nothing. It's like, come on, guys, get your shit together, man. It's just because you like that and I like that, it doesn't mean we have to go to war.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
How about? Go ahead, Tony. Sorry.
I was just going to say we've kind of taken that, the Bloodstained, that is the purpose of the tour, the overall name for the tour, because everything within the album has those two themes. It's either dealing with just the music, the glorifying the music and the fans and the energy that we share and the wonder that is our a type of music that we play. And the other theme is that it's that lost society. It's that, what the fuck is going on, and it's all tied into the cover, much like Ave Satanas, much like Dein Fleisch. celebrating the light bringer, looking at your inner perversions, you know, and that's the idea of the bloodstained earth tour. You know, Mars is a red planet. Let's say in a millennia, somebody finds Earth just desolate of everything, no water, no people, no trace of, and they're digging with their Earth rover into the red soil, and they take a sample back to their planet. They add a bit of water to see if anything comes to life, and it just drips blood. Yeah. You know, is that going to be what we leave behind? Not pyramids, not, you know, you just had the war in Syria destroying cities where they found their Sanskrit, the first ever writing. You know, yep. Is that what we're going to do? Just wipe ourselves and our history away? So just backing up what Jeff said, so that's that in direction of that whole feeling of it, you know. Yep. We can do the most incredible things. We don't have to take that path. Again, back to the cover, or is it the beginning or is it the end? It's up to us.
I like that. I like that. All right, the next track, which would be Time to Die. You know, self-explanatory, but this is like a speed metal song on steroids. This, I could see fans stage diving to this. Another extension of the Venom sound. Then it sort of changes tempo throughout the song. More of a technical song, I guess, with the gang vocals, right in the sort of the mid part. Quick thoughts. Quick thoughts on
a journeyman
Time
song.
to Die.
It's a journeyman song. You know, for me, it's a journeyman song. You know, the gladiatorial, you know, games. You know, Time to Die. Your time to die. You know, it's another one of those things. Is like, you know, I guess guys who go in the army and girls who go in the army. You know, you're trained, you know, to die, to be expected to die. And here you have a period of history through the Roman Empire where these were classed as the games. I mean, you know, it's not the Olympics, is it? You know, where a gladiator went in there and, you know, of course he was trying to survive on a personal level, but he was also prepared to die. And so the crowd chants or the you know, they're the Colosseum chanting, you know, die, the thumb up and the thumb down. That was the decision if you found yourself in such a position. But it's that, again, it's about mind. It's about dealing with that. How do you know, prepare yourself to know you're going to go in there and fight to the death? You know, I mean, it's an intriguing sort of thing. And that's all, I think, with Jeff, the way he conducted the music is almost like that franticness of like, bang, there's a melee, it's just chariots and fucking swords and everything going on. And then we changed tack to that marching sound, you know, of the gladiators coming in and that whole impetus of like, these amazing, strong men about to go into that war, and then at the end, chaos, blood and chaos, with the crowd being for it.
And that's the gang vocals that, you know, that come in, you know, time too, like, you know, that's it's got that
absolutely
sound. It brings that.
One thing was I remember myself and Tony being in Rome, and we took a walk up to, you know, the Colosseum. It was like standing outside of it, looking, thinking, Jesus, the fucking carnage that took place in that arena.
Yeah.
For the entertainment.
It's crazy.
People, you know, the people who went in there to die, animals, fucking everything. And it's like, I did a little bit of research on it before I wrote it. And, you know, I found this mantra of the gladiators: I will endure to be burned, to be bound, to be beaten and killed by the sword. So that is in that big heavy part. The breakdown where Tony says you can imagine these guys walking into the fucking arena, and that's exactly what their mantra was. I will endure to be burned, to be bound, to be beaten and killed by the sword. And then added the next part, I will not rest until my enemy's death. You know, so it's just all about the madness and the chaos that happened in there. It's like, you know, and the crowd baying for blood, and it was like, fuck, what must that have been like? To being thrown into that arena, you know, armed with a little sword and a fucking shield, and then this fucking huge guy walks in, armed to the fucking teeth with a net and a spear and fucking all kinds of shit, and then they throw tigers and lions into the mix.
Crazy, isn't it? Isn't it crazy? It's crazy.
Fucking
you know, now that you guys are explaining to me, you know, what each song is about, I really, it's you know, it's creating these images in my head, and I've heard these tracks for a few weeks now, and wow, and I recommend everybody watch this, listen to what all the tracks are all about, and you'll get that much more out of the album when you actually buy it and listen to it. The Evil Dead. I don't know if this is about the movie The Evil Dead or what's going on there, but zombies or what?
Jeff's totally into, well, he not totally into, but he really loves horror movies. More so than I do. I don't watch too much TV, although we both love The Exorcist, the classics, The Omen, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I'm a fan of the Saw ones I like, but it was just a title. It was just a title that just stuck in my head, The Evil Dead, and the songs about dead people coming to life. So necromancing, which is an oldie worldy theme. But when it was kind of for me when I heard the riff the first time, I was thrown back to Blizzard of Oz. It was like Randy Rhoads riffing, and I was like, fucking hell, and I couldn't get things like Crazy Train and that Blizzard album out of my head. And there was just something classic about the feel of it, of classic 80s. I went with that. I went with something classic and a movie and necromancing and that whole theme. And we have very good friends, a band from Italy, northern Italy, called Necrodetta. And I just thought, fuck, if I could get their name in it somehow, and I managed to get it in on the last lines of the song, But it just seemed to sit with, it's kind of like Don't Burn the Witch for me. When we do Don't Burn the Witch, I love Shakespeare. So for me, I see the blackness, I see the witches round the cauldron, the blackened sky, and they're putting all this stuff in there. And the whole, it's a story song, and I love those things that create those images and that talk, like Bloodlust, they talk about, you're almost there watching it happen, and good movies are like that. They enthrall you, they make you sit there. We've all been at those movies where we go, yeah, it's all right, but there's other movies where you're going, fuck, and, all of a sudden 2 hours have passed and you've gone, fucking hell, you can breathe afterwards, and those kind of songs, I love those thematic songs that give you all the imagery within them, and it just, like I say, it's born itself out of like classic riffing,
And interestingly enough, it was one of the first songs that I wrote for this album.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you again, I've said this before, but if you looked on the hard drive, you'd see a folder with all the demos, and it goes from V Inc 001 to V Inc 020. But within all those pages, there's tons of other fucking songs. V Inc 15 actually spawned 3 songs which are on the album. So there's probably in excess of 25 songs written in various stages of completion. But Evil Dead was one of the first ones, one of the very first ones that came. And then Tony sent the demo vocals back, and we sort of, we talked about it and everything. But then when he came across, and I had re-recorded the song, and then Tony put the vocals on that you hear, bang, that song changed completely. Fucking changed completely. Oh yeah, changed completely. Fucking wow.
I don't even think that John Sazula was that struck with it initially. He was like, yeah, it's kind of like simple, kind of like a standard song. And then we reworked it, sent it, and he went, oh, I really like that. And then Yap at Nuclear Blast was like, that's like one of my favorite songs. It was like, cool. Oh, okay. So
it's going to be the next. It's going to be the next lyrical video from Nuclear Blast.
Okay, there we go. We got a sneak peek. When's that coming out?
I'm not sure.
Not sure? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the next track. And The Preacher Man, okay? Now I got to tell you something. When I put this song on, I thought this was a cover version. I go,
oh, really?
Is this a cover? Are they covering an older tune like in the 70s? That's how strong this track was for me. And I would think this would be the next video, but this is like, I don't know, man. It reminds me something of Primeval, but it really stands out. And I think because there's a sort of a social connection that everybody can make, like Don't Preach to Me, it's an individualism, right? Maybe, I am who I am. Don't tell me who I should be. And maybe because it connects lyrically to people that it stands out so much for me. And I did think it was a cover, like a remake of some sort. Thoughts on that, Tony or Thoughts on that?
No, yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, Jeff composed that song. Was one of the ones that we'd actually had tied down towards the next Empire album, Unleashed, and pulled it forward, sent it to John Sazula, who just went, I love that song. And then, the approach of the lyrical theme is completely where Jeff sat, that whole, don't listen to the preacher man, don't listen to what he said, don't let him get inside your head. And it speaks volumes. And I think that's it. Not just on a religious thing, but for each
not on
individual.
that's right.
Yeah, for each individual who may be at school feeling they're bullied because they listen to fucking Demons and they wear black and nobody understands them, or their family, or their village, or their town.
Or the government, or for the government for that matter, right?
Or for the government, for any dictatorial basis that's penetrating into your life, which kind of tries to strip that individuality. My daughter, goes to a school where you have to wear a school uniform, but now you can't wear all of these makes of shoes. You just have to wear black shoes, but you can't wear all of these. You can only wear this make or this make. I mean, the black shoe's a fucking black shoe, isn't it? It's like, as long as it's a black shoe. But it's like, how much more control do you want to have? The kids are still going to do their shit when they leave school, trust me. So, they're still going to go out there and do it. But it's like, I think, to celebrate individuality, schools should be about celebrating the individual, pushing that part of them forward in a positive way, of course, but not homogenizing everything. The industry wants to homogenize, and the government wants you to be happy. Here's a bit of cake, there's a biscuit, now fuck off and don't say anything, because, we don't want dissonance, and it's part of the problem with religion and music, and music in certain places, like in some Slavic places now. I can't remember whether it's Croatia or whatever, but they're talking about banning metal. So no metal bands can go in there because they think it's about a bad influence on the youth culture. And it's not going to stop it. When the Cold War was on and there was a fucking wall across dividing us, I went into Poland and people still had the music. They still got it. They will still get it, and you're going to drive them towards it, not away from it. But I think it's that kind of thing in the youth culture should be celebrated, And
I think the preachers are scared of metal because it sort of opens people's mind, and they don't want people. They don't want people to think. And metal, and metal is, not only is it partying and having a good time, but it's also about thinking about your social, the social issues in the world, the economic issues, and they just don't want people to think. They don't want people to rebel. They don't want a group to come there and to overthrow the government.
Exactly, linking the two, Jim. It's when going on stage and saying to the audience, when the man says to you tomorrow, who the fuck are you? You tell him we're the fucking sons of Satan. That's the link. It's like, you tell him that I'm an individual, that's who I am. Yeah. When they tell you don't think like that, you say, that's the way I think. You can't do that. Yes, I can do that. It's like, it is about embracing the individuality. And I think, so yes, it's about controlled Catholicism and controlled religion across the board, but also politics and everything else. Everything else it says, shut the fuck up, just go to work, come back home, eat your pizza, watch the game, drink your beer, go to sleep, don't ask us anything, be happy with everything we give you or take from you, just get on with it. And it's like, no, don't do that. Stand up and shout.
Well, the next track bleeds into this one. It's basically war, what happens after being preached to, right? So it's self-explanatory. War, the world, what's going on today. Jeff, some quick thoughts on war?
It's exactly what you've just said. It's what the fuck's going on today. Killing for no reason. It's the insanity of man yet again. It's like, and that's what that whole track's about. So what the hell we got here?
What are you doing there, Tony?
I was just going
just cleaning up as we're doing an interview.
I'm cleaning the house. Put a picture up or something just while I was going to tell you.
Okay, well, how about this? And here's another song. And again, I kneel to know God, right? It's not necessarily God in general, but it's to the preacher. It's to the person telling you what to do, right?
Yeah.
At least that's what I got out of it, right? And thoughts on that, Jeff?
Well, it's exactly what you said. I mean, it's. We get asked about lyrics all the time. And my answer to people who say, what does this lyric mean? What does that lyric mean? I'll always say, what does it mean to you? It might have a completely different meaning to you than it does to me. And that's good, because it makes it your song at the end of the day. That's something special to you.
Tell me about the music. If you were to ask somebody, if someone was to ask you, what does this song sound like in Kneel to Know God? What does the song sound like?
Oh, I think it's a big, heavy, fucking groove-laden track. You know, it's there's a lot of my sort of you'll not particularly pick up on it, I suppose, but it's
doom. Would you say doom, down-tuned? I think it was down-tuned.
Oh, it is. It's
it was more of a down-tuned track, I think.
Yeah, that one is drop B. That one. Okay. So's Preacher Man actually.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's got a great groove to it. I think it's got a good message in it. It's just one of the songs that I really like on the album.
Yeah, I think that's one.
People are going to have to hear it.
Yeah, that's also one of the things that Abaddon's style is. Yeah, he calls it the groove, isn't it? You know, and he likes being in that zone, whatever it is. It's probably the Deep Purple in him, and I think this is one of those songs that has that, and that's kind of why Jeff, when he was writing the music, kept that in mind, not to try and play trickery and try and just go, well, this is what it is, but the whole intent of the whole album was thinking about each other's performances and and sometimes not even realizing that, but that's what was there. So it was compositive of who was going to be, sitting in the seat. Kind of like, you don't give a 12-foot guy a Mini. You think that, well, I'm making a car for a 12-foot guy, I've got to make sure he's got enough leg room. It's kind of that what was afforded us so that it works,
Yeah.
Definitely.
And the last track, and this is probably the fun track, right? Black and Roll. And I'm not quite sure if you're this is geared toward the black metal bands or just metal bands in general. Again, for everybody out there, the lyrics sort of like you hear a little bit of Master of Puppet by Metallica, you hear Motorhead, a lot of nods to a lot of the metal bands that everybody loves out there who sort of paved the way for everyone else. A nice upbeat, fast track with really fun lyrics. Care to comment on that, Tony?
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly that. Jeff said, I've got this piece, I'm going to send it to you. Think Motorhead. I mean, I was like, oh, okay, because he knows something with Motorhead. And the minute it turned on, it always like, okay, well, that's destiny itself, isn't it? So I'll put a little bass flick at the beginning, in the middle bit, there's a bit of the old Motorhead bass thing, and then Jeff goes into he goes from a fast Eddie solo into an Angus Young bit into an Eddie Van Halen bit, and lyrically we just had great fun playing around with the lyrics. I just saw, I think the album got three stars in Kerrang magazine, which still alive, but the guy wrote at the bottom, and finally the album ends on Black and Roll, and what I perceived to be Jimmy Savile. He said, so they're still in the zone of shocking people then. And I think the fun that we had on that oozes out, we did a track on Hell to the Holy, which we fucking just had a hoop doing. It was a Snake Pit, and it was just the best fun doing it. And this also was, it's no holds barred, straightforward, down black and roll. And the idea being black and roll is like, well, if rock and roll's rock and roll and black metal's black metal, maybe it's all just black and roll,
Yeah.
And all of the genres are all part of that, not just just trying to pull them out and be different. But I think that was it for us to have fun. One of the things that I, not just me, but that people loved about Venom, I think, was, we're Geordies and they're Geordies, and so when they did their stuff, they always had that bit of fun in it. That there was always the or snots and shit, or so there was always something nutty going on.
Yes,
even
true.
on Red Light Fever and Welcome to Hell, all of that stuff. It was like it's inbuilt in us to take the piss. So that came out, that fun side came out, and I think it was lost somewhat. It all became a bit too serious. It's got to be serious, It's like, it's like Man of War. You're not really Vikings, and we don't really wear nappies, and you don't sail ships across the world. You get planes like everybody else and carry your stuff around, But the image of that is what's there. And I think, we could be in danger of being too serious, but that's not who we are as people. We're joyful, and when we play, we're full of life, and that comes across. For me, that came across. I mean, Jeff, what do you think?
Obviously, I was going to say exactly what you just said there, Tony, was, Venom always had a sense of humor. I think sometimes it was lost on people, but, we did have the red light fevers, the teacher's pets, the poisons, all that. And I think because it's a dark album, it speaks of a lot of dark things, but, like we say, we've got Metal We Bleed, which is totally dedicated to the fans. Forged in Hell is fucking about a live band getting out there and doing it, which black metal was about, and black metal is actually about playing live. But yeah, to end the album, so we give you all this fucking heavy metal, this dark fucking stuff, and just to end it, we thought, let's leave you with a smile on your face.
Yeah,
left
that's
us
a
with
good
a
way to
smile
do it.
on our face.
That's right.
So,
all right.
Great.
Well, so this is my review. Now I gave you my review as we went along. I loved every track, and I definitely would put this at a 9 out of 10. I think everybody should go pick this album up. It could possibly be one of Venom's, and if you look at the catalog of Venom, we do have to include this album in the Venom catalog because all you guys are former members of Venom, or were Venom members, or are Venom members. I don't know. Either way. If you look at the catalog of Venom and you take this album, I would believe it'd probably be either the best album or right next to, the first album. Definitely a 9 out of 10 for you guys. And I'm not saying that because I like you guys, and you guys are like my friends, but it's definitely a solid album. Production is fantastic. The drumming is well done. Tony, I love the vocals. Brutal.
Thank you.
And it's got that energy that Conrad probably lacks. It's just got that enthusiasm and that energy, and the lyrics are dark, and there's just so many nice spaces between all the instruments. Production's fantastic. I can't say enough great things about it, and I love the little sound bites, when Tony's talking in between the songs, which really makes it even more creepier. Maybe that's the right word. So guys, we're approaching almost the 2-hour mark, just so you know, we've been talking for 2 hours. And there's a tour coming up starting in September. What day is it starting on?
First, yes.
September 1st?
In Philadelphia.
So it's a North American tour going into Canada. And you could just go to Venom Inc., the website, and you get all the tour dates. Also, pick up the new album. It's coming out August 14th, right? August 14th? August 14th.
Yeah.
August 14th on Nuclear Blast.
Friday, is it Friday, I think?
So,
is that the question?
7 days. So,
yes.
So 14th is coming out on Nuclear Blast. There's a documentary, right? Tony, you're working on the Venom documentary. What's going on with that?
Yeah, well, that's working really, really well. I mean, we basically what I've been doing over the time is taking snapshots of us traveling through the journey all the way up to now, and then we did a load of stuff talking about the album and the journeyman of that at Nuclear Blast. So we have that footage, and then on this world tour, because we are going to be doing everywhere on this next, I guess, we'll be finishing off all that, and then hopefully put a whole DVD box set together with some old stuff, some unseen stuff, and the backstage stuff, the making of the videos and anything else, and be something really, really interesting. A bit like Jeff's book when he was talking about the coffee table aspect. Something you can pick up, and every time you pick it up, there'll be something you missed and go.
Boy, I didn't see that. Yes. And what
so,
about like a live album, sort of like to commemorate, I guess, the new and the old, right? Just to put it all together.
I don't know. I think I'm in two minds about that. I think that what you get when you see us live, especially if we play legacy stuff, is a snapshot, and it keeps it individual. It keeps that moment special for those people there. I don't know if we should. I don't know if we should go to do something live. I'm a bit unsure. Maybe the boys, if they wanted to, I'd go along with it. But I'm not sure if that's the right thing for us to do. But I don't know. I mean,
Right.
these days it's like the minute you played one show, everything's live, isn't it? Because it's on the internet like that, and everybody sees it. It's one of the things I will say. If anybody's listening, I will just make one plea. When we start the tour, because we're doing some kind of new old stuff as well as trying to make it as exciting, please don't photograph the fucking set list and then put it up on social media. Because the guy at the end of the tour,
no one's going to listen. You realize that?
Exactly. It's like, it's like watching the end of the movie and you're thinking, oh my God, and you watch it for 4 hours and then your mum walks in and goes, oh my God, that so-and-so did it. You're like, fuck, what are you doing? Or watching the Super Bowl and someone, on a replay, because you've been at work and you've stayed away from all the newspapers, then your friend tells you the score, at the last minute. It's like, I just want to keep that special. So that's my personal plea. If you know anybody, just please don't share it.
All right. So any last words to Kronos? Anything?
Pardon?
Any last words to Kronos? I mean, what do you guys?
I've lost you.
Have you lost me?
Oh, sorry. I think I've lost you. What did he say? I can't hear. No, I think he's doing a new EP. He's doing a new an album, and I wish him luck. I think people said they've announced some extra shows now. They've announced the album, which was delayed for whatever reason, probably because he knew we were putting ours out, but it doesn't matter to us. But and he's going to do some more shows, and I think if whatever we're doing. All the bitch slapping aside, whatever we're doing inspires him to up his game and to do even more. The only benefit is the fans.
Yeah, it's true.
The only benefit is the fans. We will not stop doing what we're doing. As many shows as we can, as many places we can, everywhere we can. That's just what we're doing, and that's what we're going to do. So it doesn't matter how much mourning goes on, how much scrolling of the wallpaper goes on. It's not going to stop us doing it, or recording, should we feel the impulse to carry on to do that. We will continue. So instead of spending any time trolling on social media or whining, just get out there and play to your fans. That's all they want. At the end of the day, they just want great music. So I hope he produces some great music and he does more and more shows. I mean, otherwise, why not,
Have you received any letters from him saying, guys, stop, you can't do this? Have you received anything?
There was one letter, personally, I know Jeff will say something for himself, but personally, I got one letter. I got the letter M, and I realized it was from my mum, because mum starts with M. But at first I was puzzled, and I thought, is this a W? And why has he sent me this? But then, friends pointed out I had it upside down, and when I put it the right way up, I realized it was an M. So then I called a load of people and said, I've got this letter. I don't know what it means. And my mum says, well, it's from me, because mum starts with M. And that's the only letter I got.
Okay, what about you, Jeff? Any last words? No, nothing. Mums. It's mum's the word. It's M for mum.
Mum's the word. There you go.
All right, guys. I think we've 2 hours. I think we've kind of went through everything. Can't wait to see you on tour. And thanks for the chat. And, everybody go pick up the new album, Ave. 9 out of 10 from the Metal Voice. All right, guys.
Good night.
Well, thank you very much, Jimmy. That's very nice of you to say. And thank you so much for your time, as always, and your support.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Awesome.